Look around, and you'll notice a quiet heaviness, a creeping exhaustion that seems to settle over people, leaving them drained and disconnected. We are tracking two parallel health crises. In young adults, clinical depression rates are climbing sharply. At the same time, older populations are experiencing accelerated rates of neurological decline and cognitive aging. To treat these conditions, the standard medical playbook relies almost entirely on two main tools: prescription medications and traditional talk therapy. But comprehensive international datasets point toward a third option. Researchers have isolated a measurable, biological intervention that modern society has largely sidelined. It requires no pharmacy copay, it carries zero chemical side effects, and the mechanism to use it is already hardwired into our neurobiology. What we usually treat as a cultural luxury, the act of creative expression, actually functions as a potent biological prescription for the brain. The scale of the clinical evidence is immense. A recent study spearheaded by researchers at Trinity College Dublin analyzed brain data from over 1,400 participants across 13 different countries. To measure the physical impact of creativity, researchers utilized brain clocks. This is a computational model that calculates the gap between your chronological age and your biological brain age. The data revealed a distinct pattern. Individuals who maintained sustained engagement in creative activities consistently displayed younger biological brain profiles than their non-creative peers. The scan showed structural fortification in highly specific areas: the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. The exact regions most vulnerable to neurodegeneration were noticeably better preserved. Creative engagement actively builds stronger, more efficient neural networks. It acts as a literal physical shield against biological decay. While those brain scans map long-term aging, the data also outlines immediate, acute results when treating severe depression in youth. This medical review evaluates rigorous clinical trials testing dance and movement therapy as a direct non-pharmacological intervention for students. The trials required participants to engage in weeks of structured physical routines. The exercises focused heavily on spatial awareness, physical grounding, and emotional expression. These tables highlight clinical outcomes. Comparing the Beck depression scores pre- and post-intervention, researchers recorded statistically significant reductions in depressive symptoms among participating students. Looking closely at the post-test score differences in Table 4 makes the mechanism clear. The intense physical exertion and required spatial focus act as an anchor, pulling a spiraling anxious mind back into the physical body. Expressive movement operates as a measurable antidepressant. It stabilizes a deteriorating mental state through direct bodily integration. The medical applications extend from movement to sound. At the National Institutes of Health, researchers have mapped the exact neurological pathways activated by creating and listening to music. When processing music, auditory signals bypass the brain's language centers and directly illuminate the central emotion and reward hubs. This initial spark triggers a biological cascade. The activated reward hubs modulate the release of neurotransmitters, helping patients manage severe chronic physical pain. In clinical settings, these pathways are used to build entirely new communication routes in the brain, restoring function for individuals managing profound trauma or neurodegenerative conditions like Parkinson's disease. Music functions as a direct, mechanical tool with the capacity to physically rewire a damaged brain. When people review this data, the immediate question is usually about skill. Do you need to be a talented artist to experience these medical benefits? The findings published in Nature Communications are definitive on this point. When it comes to neurological protection, talent is entirely irrelevant. Researchers compared the brain scans of an expert tango dancer to those of a complete beginner taking their first steps. They found zero difference in the protective benefits. The biological fortification does not come from a flawless performance. It comes directly from the cognitive friction of learning, the clumsy, difficult process of attempting to create something new. The healing power of creativity is a hardwired human defense mechanism. It remains available to everyone, regardless of skill level. We have a long history of treating the arts as an extracurricular activity, an optional luxury reserved for those with free time. The clinical data proves that view is obsolete. creativity must be aggressively reimagined as a fundamental public health resource. The evidence is clear. Mixing paints on a canvas, striking the keys of a piano, or moving to a rhythm are literal medical interventions for the human brain. The act of creation is a process of biological repair. To create is to heal.